really fantastic final round we have here. And just looking as you look through the points in front of you, as we were saying, Jack, that Josh only just about qualified for this championship, but it's been extremely competitive from the very off. And I suppose, look, we're down to the final 2 races now. People will be getting a little bit desperate. There's still plenty to play for, not just at the top, but also plenty all the way up through the championship standings. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what the guys put in, what kind of show they'll give us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great championship, and as you mentioned, perfect segue, honestly, that Josh Malin only just made it into this championship back in the pre-qualifiers. He was the last man to qualify, only by a couple of hundredths, of course. Just the top guys made it in, and Josh Malin now is the championship leader heading into this final 2 rounds. I'm sure he's going to be pretty nervous. He's came close on multiple occasions, but he's in a perfect spot to try and take this today. But for all of you watching at home, I hope you're having a great day. But don't forget, this is your last chance tonight to win yourself that great SIMUCUBE 2 Pro. And we'll be revealing the winner of that. I'm not exactly sure when, but it'll be during the week. So keep your eyes out for that. All you need to do is tell us your driver of the day at the end of the race. So make sure you watch all the way through to figure out who is going to be your driver of the day. But at the moment, it's Dave Maguire with the fastest current time. Fastest man in practice was Alex Dunn. And he's had a few weeks off right now. But I think we can forgive him, Kelvin, because he's actually been testing some pretty fast real-life cars.
Yeah, Alex is look, what a bright career that young man has ahead of him, and we're really excited to see. And although we don't want to big up, I suppose, young drivers too much, it's fantastic to see young drivers like Alex and some of the other guys, especially in the rally circuit, moving up through the ranks. And it would be fantastic to see Alex competing on more international events. Obviously, the current pandemic is kind of put paid to a lot of stuff, but in a way, I suppose it takes pressure off guys like Alex. It gives them an opportunity really to get stuck into some testing and really be at the top of their performance, and I suppose taking part in the event like the iDMC season, where he's been extremely competitive in this season in the sim, can only be massively beneficial to him going forward in his career.
Absolutely, yeah, and as well, we all want to congratulate him as well, because he's also just been signed as a driver for Williams eSports, so he's been noticed within the eSport world as well. So this will be his first competitive race for them, I believe. And of course, the guys working hard in the stewards booth, as always, week in, week out, Rob King and Sean McGinley. This will be the last time they'll have to deal with the pro guys at the very least, so they should be happy with that. But of course, we have the Pro-Am to round out as well next week. Don't miss that, because that championship, I obviously have no idea who's leading that one, and I've been doing the thing, so interesting stuff. But Josh Malin, currently the fastest man on the circuit, and he's going for a kind of a run of pole positions. He's basically, every time, it always seems to be the first race of the day, he manages to just secure himself pole. Alex Dunn, only a 10th off. And Dave Maguire, he's been a really impressive force this season, really improved from the Pro-Am series and the BMWs up into the next series, into the Pro Series. He's really made himself comfortable in there. And Keith Dempsey, he's a multiple champion in Digital-Motorsports. He's always there. He hasn't had the best season, but within his standards, a bad season currently. He sits second in the championship as well. He's been constantly there. But we know Keith is hungry to maybe secure himself a win. It's a very outside chance. It's about 40 points in the difference for him to try and displace Josh Malin. But Josh would need an absolute disaster of a race, a disaster of 2 races, to really usurp Josh Malin, to really lose out big time. So Keith, he basically needs Josh Malin to crash out, and he needs to win every race tonight. But that is still possible, because we've seen so many things happen in the championship thus far that literally anything can happen. Dave Maguire, he's up in 4th place in the championship. I think he'll be happy with how his season has gone, because Dave, he came out of the blocks when nobody expected him, and he took a win in the opening round, let's not forget. And he also went on to represent Ireland in the eDMC. So Dave, for me, Kevin, has been the most improved driver this season.
Yeah, massively. And I suppose, look, Dave, I think going into this season, having been reasonably competitive in the Pro-Am season last year, in the last season, for him now to get a drive with Ireland in the eDMC, to be so competitive in this championship, I think Dave has been a massive confidence boost for him. And I suppose, it just goes to show you that, we talk about the Keith Dempseys and the Josh Malins and the Jordan Kellys usually, but nonetheless, there's there's still a huge amount of guys here who can surprise you, who can come out of the woodwork, as we were talking about Alex Dunn earlier. He's certainly not the complete driver yet. He has a lot to go forward. He's second here already, but he has the raw speed. There's no fear about that. But, there's a lot of drivers here that there's very, very little separates them, as always. And it's just those little tweaks, those little things that separate the Josh Malins from the guys like Jason Smith, even, who we see, who hasn't been kind of in amongst the championship standings, but has been massively competitive nonetheless. So yeah, it really bodes well. We have a really exciting season 2 coming up in a totally different class of car. Be interested to see how those guys grapple with that. And it's always nice, I suppose, the end of the season, the start of a new season, that kind of time where you've enjoyed the 12 weeks of, as we say, the USF2000 cars, and now we're looking forward to kind of touring cars and something that's going to be completely different. And it's fantastic that, I suppose, with the Digital-Motorsports and with iRacing, that kind of service allows that the guys can hop from one car to the other, and we can see how quick they are in each.
Absolutely, yeah. So, of course, after this championship is done, we take a quick break, and then we head straight into the next series with the TCRs. And I know there's some guys who are really, really looking forward to the TCRs, and myself in particular as well. The previous championship in the TCRs was just absolutely brilliant, and that was certainly a season to remember. As not sure what Niall Murray's at here, but he's just is he going to do some practice starts on the grid, reversing down the grid to get onto his grid slot and practice some starts? That's some dedication right there from Niall Murray. Trying to find every ounce of grip, exactly what the grip is on his side of the grid. Now that is racing driver thinking right there from Niall Murray.
I was going to say, I hope just as though we're not in Sochi, or else Niall would have a few penalty points and a grid penalty. So be glad at the fact that he's not in Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a start outside of the designated zone, Niall. I think the stewards might be looking at that. No, I doubt it. But within this championship, it's going to be Josh Malin again on pole position. That is 3 in a row for Josh Malin, by about a 10th over Alex Dunn. Dave Maguire only 200ths off the back of Alex Dunn. An impressive qualifying from Jason Smith. He manages to get in front of Keith Dempsey. But I mean, this is close. That's about 2 to 3 tenths separating the top 6, less than a second between the entire field. There's your championship standings once more. 303 for Josh Malin. Keith Dempsey is on 261. And then we have Dave Maguire, 244, could possibly get himself in front of Keith Dempsey heading into the next one. So we'll wait to see what happens when we get into... so we're just going to, as well, the SIMUCUBE, that'll be announced during the next week's Pro-Am race, so make sure to tune in for that. Josh Malin on pole position for the final 2 rounds. This is round 11 heading to round 12. Josh Malin on pole, Alex Dunn in P2, Dave Maguire P3, Jason Smith in 4th, Keith Dempsey in P5. Niall Murray lines up in 6th, Jonathan Brown lines up in 7th, Fabrizio Rivera and Tony Stack and Rory O'Shea in 10th. Then it's Nicky Meredith and Brian McManus in 11th and 12th place on the grid. I think we have 17 tonight, so not quite the full grid that we had, but that should make for an interesting reverse grid. The top 15 end up inverted, and only two guys who finished in 16th and 17th will remain in exactly the same place. But we are going to get away for this first round of the evening. It's a fantastic start from one of the Turn 3 Motorsport cars. They head down towards Turn 1. There's going to be immediate contact there between Dave Maguire and Nicky Meredith. Came down towards Turn 1, but he manages to sort himself out. But Dave Maguire, terrible start as they headed into turn number 1 there. Round the second curve they come, and it's a great start from Josh Malin once again. Alex Dunn into P2, Keith Dempsey holds 3rd, Jason Smith in 4th, but a terrible getaway for Dave Maguire, who started in 4th, dropping all the way down to 8th place and knocking off the line. Well, Josh Malin leads from the get-go, but something tells me that he's going to have a bit of work to do today versus the man behind him. That is, of course, Alex Dunn, who is on his tail. Keith Dempsey goes into 3rd place, chasing him down. Jason Smith tries to pull away, or tries to keep with him as they head through the chicane for the first time, heading into the stadium, into the hairpin for the first time. This is where we'll see the massive slipstream effect that we know around the Montreal circuit. And Alex Dunn is certainly thinking about a move down into the hairpin there for the first time, but the best overtake job, he's going to look on the inside. He's not taking any prisoners. Alex Dunn up the inside, goes side by side with Josh Malin, heading down towards the chicane, and he manages to just about nip in front there. Josh Malin back into the slipstream again. Goes Alex Dunn. Malin to the inside lines that come down towards the wall of champions. Will it claim any lives today? Dunn moves in front with the slipstream into the braking zone for the wall of champions chicane. Dunn tries to go around the outside, leaves the room for Josh Malin. Here comes Keith Dempsey trying to come around the outside. He can't quite do it, but it's Josh Malin who leads now, but he falls into the trap now with Keith Dempsey and Alex Dunn behind. But it's good stuff early on from the leaders, and great stuff from Josh Malin to fend off the attack of Alex Dunn.
Yeah, what a brilliant start. Tony Stack losing places there early on as well, but already first lap, first hairpin, and into the finals again. We have a battle between Josh Malin and Alex Dunn. It was disappointing to see Dave McGuire down in 9th. We were hoping that Dave might be able to keep that championship fight alive. You'll be hoping that Josh will have an incident with Alex Dunn in front of him, but certainly for Alex, a good move down the inside of the hairpin, couldn't quite let it stick, and then I think it was sensible just to back out of that chicane, because with those USF2000 cars, they're really there's only one line through that corner, otherwise you're knocking front wheels and you're heading into the wall of champions. But Josh now leading again as we go back through the stadium section on the inside with beautiful circuit this is in Montreal, right in the middle of the city, but obviously slightly off the beaten track, as Alex now tailing Josh again. Alex goes around the outside. Josh going to hold the inside line there, going through the hairpin. That's a little bit less close as there's contact there. Keith Dempsey's left front contacting with Alex Dunn's back right corner, but Alex keeping it together. Keith lifting off. A bit of sportsmanship there from Keith. He's going to go back at Alex again. It looks to be covering him off, but Alex down the inside. Jack, sorry, I'm almost doing your job here. There's just so much going on. I was going to try to add extra commentary, but now I find myself chatting about what's going on at the moment as Keith tries to go on the outside. Big contact there. Keith turning in on Alex. Alex not leaving him the space. Keith going riding up the side of Alex Dunn and facing now the wrong way. It'll be interesting to see what damage Alex Dunn has. Hopefully Keith will rejoin safely. Oh, he doesn't. He's after taking out somebody behind him. That's Ronan Doherty. Keith's after smashing into. That's not a great rejoin for Keith Dempsey after taking out two cars, and now he goes back to the pits from Keith. That was not a clever rejoin from him. But interesting to see that again between Alex Dunn and Keith, because Keith moved in. Alex didn't give him the space. Well, I wouldn't say that Alex didn't give him the space. The space wasn't necessarily there, so it's hard to see. I suppose it'll be up to our stewards, Sean McGinley and Rob King to decide there, because that was a close one, whether it's a racing incident or not. It looked like to me that there was a racing incident, but I suppose we'll have to see what stewards say about that. But gee, at Jacket, it's all action up front.
It really is. Yeah, here's the move again. Oh, it's just unlucky there between Keith and Alex. I think it was just unlucky contact with the wheels, and as soon as Keith made that contact, that was never going to work. I think just unlucky racing between the both of them. Alex Dunn now possibly having damage on the front end. He's coming under pressure from Jason Smith, and a fantastic race so far for Jonathan Brown and Niall Murray. Into 4th and 5th, they both go. They're scrapping amongst themselves, the teammates there, Niall Murray and Jonathan Brown coming in front. But now Fabrizio Rivera, the Italian, fancies a goal as they come down into the long back straight down towards the last chicane and the wall of champions. Rivera, in his first season of the championship, not done a bad job so far. Moves to the outside line of an experienced man, Niall Murray, side by side down towards the chicane. Very hard to go around the outside here, and he does back out of that as they head into the chicane. Tries to get a cut back line at the exit. He might have done that nicely there. Down towards turn 1 they go again. Rivera goes to the outside, has to go now to the inside for the turn number 1 as they come into the curve, and it's Rivera with the inside line, goes late on the brake, sends one up the inside, and Niall Murray shoves him out wide. Oh, it's contact again, and round they both go. Jonathan Brown, Nicky Merritt avoiding that. They all managed to avoid it. That's even more unlucky contact, and now they're stuck together. They're going to have to tow back to pit lane. But slightly messy in this last round for some of the drivers that we should be expecting a little bit more of, but nonetheless, no such problems for Josh Malin, 1.1 seconds clear of Alex Dunn, but Dunn is not letting him go.
Yeah, it's the kind of desperation you do expect to see on the final round as guys try to make up places. I'd like to see that incident again. Hard to tell from the angle that we had whether it was Niall or Fabrizio that were involved. I was just about to say how fantastic it is to have a guy like Fabrizio in there challenging some of the established guard, and it's always great to have a foreign influence on our championships. Gives a real extra kind of spice to it, and Fabrizio's done a brilliant job since coming in here, has provided some fantastic racing up the front. Again, Jonathan Brown was saying last week, really, that same last 2 rounds, should I say, has really done a fantastic job of kind of hasn't been amazing in qualifying, but it's just been really good at staying consistent in getting up the places. And as you can see already, from a 12th onwards is as lapped cars. So it just goes to show you the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of damage that we've had in this opening race here, this heat race at Montreal. And you would have thought, Jack, I suppose Montreal is a track that's no stranger to open wheel racing. It's not like we're trying to shove them into a Long Beach where the track is tight and there's no runoffs for them. I know Montreal obviously is tight enough with the walls, but you'd imagine that guys would have had plenty of experience of racing this track, and just as you say, accidents that probably could have been avoided.
Absolutely, and but thankfully, I think for these guys, the TCRs can be a bit more of a battering going side by side. But again, they do also have the new damage model on the TCRs as well. So if there's heavy enough contact, wheels will go flying in those cars. But they certainly can take a bit more contact than these can. But Josh Malin, he's absolutely flying. He's done the fastest lap of the race in the previous time by in clean air, so doesn't have the benefit of any slipstream. Alex Dunn's kind of matching about 2-3 tenths off of him. But Josh is kind of laying his authority down right now. He's taken 2 wins in a row from the feature, from pole, going for 3, and keeping his perfect record alive of taking pole and winning off the pole as well. So he's done a great job. And if he manages to stay where he is, this will basically secure him the championship, to keep Dempsey all the way down in 12th. But we have to wait, of course, for that final round. There's drop rounds to take into account, so the points will not be final until we get across the line for the final time this season after the stewards' inquiries are all done. But Josh Malin, 1.2 clear. Jason Smith hanging in there nicely in 3rd place, only about a second off the back of Alex Dunn. They're keeping each other honest right now. Of course, the 12-lap race will now approach the halfway mark, lap 6 of 12. As I tell you what, Brian McManus and Dave McGuire are having a hell of a scrap. I think Brian had to take to the runoff there. He takes the proper re-entry there over the curb, but I think he just maybe ran himself wide into the braking zone there between Dave and Brian, but not too bad. And here we go now. 2 men on a recovery. This is a battle that we're going to keep our eye on. There's car number 5, Keith Dempsey, under investigation for dangerous rejoin. I think within what we saw, that could be a slam dunk penalty for Keith. But we might have a look at this now, because this could be an interesting one to look at, Kevin. It's Niall Murray versus Keith Dempsey.
Yeah, 2 Turn 3 teammates, of course, and I wouldn't really, as you say, Jack, I wouldn't be surprised if Keith does get a penalty for that. I was watching him because I always cringe at the rejoins when it comes to iRacing. It seems to be a real problem within the service, I have to say, across all levels. Dangerous rejoins, and I think it's something that iRacing on official events certainly needs to stamp down on. I wouldn't be surprised if our stewards do the same. But in amongst all that, Alex Dunn has gone fastest with a 36-inch, a 86.87 as a move now down the inside of Niall Murray by Keith Dempsey. It didn't look like Niall did a huge amount to battle him off there, potentially teammates' orders, but Niall's going to come back at him now. Down the main straight. Nice little scrap for 10th or for 11th, 12th here between these 2 guys. Now he's going to leave it off actually, and I think he's just given Keith the position there.
Yeah, absolutely. So just some teammates moving out of the way right there. But yeah, you are right. Alex Dunn fast lap of the race in the previous time by 36.8, and he's basically trying to keep himself in the slipstream of Josh Malin. And let's have a look at the times this time by. It'll be Josh Malin with a 36.9, Dunn with a 37.0, but that's a couple of hundred separating them. But Dunn is not gaining any ground, but he's also not losing any ground with Josh Malin. So they're absolutely on the pace. And it's a shame that Alex had to miss the rounds, because these were the guys that would have been scrapping for the championship. Alex Dunn would have been right up there in that fight as well. Had some great results over the course of the season, and is now trying to, of course, get back into the swing of things after his testing for Spanish F4 over in Spa. Hopefully that's gone well for him. And of course, getting signed to Williams eSports just this week as well. So trying to establish himself in there as well. So not a bad couple of weeks, is it?
No, not a bad couple of weeks at all. But as you were saying, Jack, there is a drop round, of course. So each driver will drop their lowest full round score of the first 5 rounds. So presumably that will be the round that Alex missed out on. So it'd be interesting to see, as you say, when all is said and done, and when we get the final points tallies, where that leaves Alex, because he did miss a round, but of course that's dropped anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out of that one, because he's been pretty consistent in the other rounds all the way through the season. and again tackling tackling Josh Malin. It's hard to see really anybody apart from Josh from this point now who's going to win this championship. But it'd be interesting to see if Alex does get ahead of Josh. That's a 10-point swing between first and second, of course. So all to play for if Alex can get himself ahead. But as you say, Jack, I put the commentators. I was just about to say what a fantastic month it's been for him. And then Alex, like all good champions, finds himself in that wall at the end of the final chicane.
I tell you what, he held on to that well. That was a clinch moment from Alex Dunn going through the chicane, trying to push on, rubs the Roll of Champions, doesn't quite claim the victim, but it came very, very close on that occasion. But he saves it. He loses about a second, but better that he loses a second rather than his wheel in that one. So well held, Alex Dunn. And Kevin, if you cannot mention him ever again, then that will be great for him. So. But 2.3 seconds.
I've been pretty good this season, not putting the kibosh on people. I think so. I think I've only had one at Virginia, perhaps. But I think generally the commentators' curse hasn't been too bad. But definitely Alex there was right in the middle of it was actually such a bad commentator's curse. It was an anticipatory commentator's curse because it happened before I even got to open my mouth about the great week that he was having. But yeah, Josh now 2.3 ahead. Really, this has been Josh Malin's championship. He's been so quick, and I'm really now excited to see what he can do in the TCR cars next year or next season as well. Of course, thankfully we don't have to wait that long. But yeah, again, Jason Smith, Jonathan Brown up there, Nicky Meredith up 6 places from where he began. He avoided the contact early on. I'm actually very surprised and impressed by how those drivers managed to avoid the contact between the incident between Niall Murray and Fabrizio Rivera, because they were right on the racing line there. Coming out of turn 1, but everybody has survived unscathed. Now we have 10 cars on the lead lap, being led by our championship leader Josh Malin. Last lap was a 137.1. Alex Dunn posting a 137.6. So both of them made mistakes on that lap. Josh must have made a mistake somewhere else. Obviously Alex losing time on the touch of the wall, coming out of the wall of champions, but 2.3 seconds now between them. With 3 laps left, it would take it would take a mistake by Josh Malin for Alex to get anything, to be in with a chance of winning this race.
Yeah, absolutely. So Josh is just leading from the get-go, and if it does come down to those drop rounds, he's doing exactly what he needs to do and be in front of Alex, which is the key points heading to the next one. And of course, remember, next race, the final race of the season, is reverse grid. And we have, of course, 15 drivers, and it just come through car 5 drive-through penalty. Just saw it come up as well, black flag. So that is a drive-through for Keith Dempsey for the rejoin, and he's going to be probably kicking himself with that one into this one. So he's going to trundle back to pit lane and drive straight through service penalty, and that will be that for his basically his championship hopes. There's certainly dented, but we'll see now. Alex going to gain some big points on both of the guys who are ahead of him, which is Dave Maguire and Keith, who are in the championship as well. So this will be a big points gain for him in this one as he gets past the lapped car right there. And of course, as I was mentioning, the reverse grid top 15 inverted currently. That puts Tony Stack on pole with Rivera in P2. There's Keith Dempsey. Is he going to serve the drive? No, I think he might just retire the car there. For one. So that is a shame for Keith Dempsey, but that is going to prove an end to his championship hopes, the very slim ones he had coming in here. He needed Josh to basically crash him to win, but it's all gone wrong in this one. There's Alex Dunn in second. Jason Smith has been pretty well, actually. In third place, a couple of hundreds off of him, and Jason's been doing the business just in P3 right there. I'm sure he'd be delighted with that. And only 2 laps left to go. Lights to flag victory for Josh Malin looks likely, and may have just sealed himself the title, but we have to wait and see.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what side of the border. It seems Josh is quick regardless in these cars, and yeah, I don't know what more we can say about him. I suppose first, it's great to see Josh, who really was robbed of the chance of winning the championship last year due to internet issues at Spa, particularly that round at Spa, and it's fantastic to see him now. I suppose really well deserved, and he's such a humble guy, Josh. Whenever you interview him, he's always a really nice guy. He's very, very humble. Always kind of takes the attention off himself, but not in a in a genuine way. You speak to some sports people and they come across as humble, but they're only doing it because they feel like they have to. Whereas Josh actually comes across as a genuinely humble person and a guy who really loves racing and loves and really enjoys this championship. He's one of the guys from across the water in the UK that races in the iDMC, and he seems to really enjoy it. He seems to get it. He seems to get the whole kind of atmosphere, the vibe of the iDMC championship, and it's fantastic for Josh now. And as we say, Alex finishing second, potentially putting himself second in the championship, but really has come along massively. He's matured massively, Alex Dunn. Even in the couple of months that we've been watching him, and as that's been shown in sort of opportunities he's getting in real life, not just on the virtual circuit. And another guy who we're really excited to see going forward, as you say, Jackie really has time on his side, does Alex, and just because you're not quick at his age doesn't mean you can't be quick in the future. But when you are quick at his age, it makes a massive difference. As we're tracking now the battle between last season's championship winner Jordan Kelly and number 9 Ronan Doherty. Jordan trying down the inside of that chicane, but it's always a very difficult move to make it around that chicane, given how it comes back at you. You kind of need to be on the right-hand line there to get in there. But Jack, I suppose, look, we've two guys up the front who I think a lot of people are really pleased to see battling up the front, and I would love to have seen Dave Maguire a little bit further up. We know his family are watching, and they give him brilliant support, and he's been really the dark horse of this championship. Fantastic performance and well-deserved opportunity to drive for his country in the eDMC. But yeah, it's been a really, really exciting championship, and I suppose we're all set to go now for the next one. But we still have a couple of laps left in this heat race, and then the final feature.
Lovely move, Jordan Kelly, around the outside of Ronan Doherty there as you were talking. But yeah, really excited to see the TCR champions, some returning faces that we haven't seen in a little while in the iDMC, returning for the TCR championship. And I'll have to check my notes and stuff, but if Josh Malin were to wrap up this title, I think he'd be the first non-Irish champion in Digital-Motorsports history. As far as I know, it's all been Irish all the way, and it seems like Josh is going to put a stop to that if he cross the line for that title in race number 2. But he's again alights the flag in race number 1. He's got a habit of doing this in this championship, and see, he's just going to hold on for a couple more corners. Alex Dunn is P2, and he started P2, remains there. Jason Smith, great job from him, impressive qualifying at the moment. And there is Jonathan Brown. He's come on a long way as well, Jonathan Brown, and Nicky Meredith as well, P5. He's up 6th place from where he started. And Nicky just never, every time he's out in front, he never seems to get any luck at all. But let's see what happens in race number 2. But currently, right now, we're going to wait to get Josh Malin across the line, but I'm already looking at our reverse grid front row, and I'm excited. Josh Malin comes down the back straight there in the number 90. This is going to make his 3rd win in a row from pole in the sprint race. Down towards the last chicane he comes, our top 3. Heading in towards the last chicane in the Wall of Champions. It will be 3 in a row, and a brilliant position for Josh Malin as he comes out of the last corner. He will cross the line and wins the sprint race here in Montreal. Alex Dunn is 2nd, Jason Smith is 3rd, Jonathan Brown will get P4, and it'll be Nicky Meredith in 5th place. Brian McManus in P6. Already donuts going off in turn number 1, but we have, of course, another race to go, so we won't call it just yet here in the iDMC, but Josh should have done enough there to secure himself the championship. But we wait to see the final points after the stewards' inquiries are all done. It'll be Brian McManus in P6, Richard Faulkner, great drive. Dave Maguire comes across in P8. Jordan Kelly will get P9. Good recovery from Jordan. He's up 7 place from where he started right down the back, and he's recovered nicely. Our outgoing champion across the line for P9, Ronan Doherty, recovers to a top 10, and it'll be Niall Murray who we wait to get across the line for P11. But Kevin, great front row for our last race of the Pro Series. Peter McCann, Tony Stack.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And I suppose Tony will feel hard done by, because he was caught up in that early incident in this heat race. An opportunity for him to make amends. But it's really all about that man, Josh Malin, again. What a fantastic drive from him. He's just so clean, so consistent. How often have Sean McGinley or Rob King have to worry about worry about Josh in this championship. He hasn't featured on their radar. The only thing I wonder now, will we have to dispatch Niall Maher across the border with a box of AstraZeneca vaccines and the trophy for it to be exported over to England without customs? Because as you say, given the fact that Josh will almost certainly now be our first ever non-Irish winner of the iDMC Pro Winter Season and the iDMC Championship. Now the logistics of trying to get it shipped over. Now I know the guys at Digital Motorsports are well used to shipping things over to the UK, but we'll have to see whether that trophy can get through customs or not.
Yeah, let's wait and see. It could be a big tax on that. We'll have to wait and see on the import tax. But Josh Malin, there's your official results of race 1. Josh Malin ahead of Alex Dunn and Jason Smith, 2 guys who are 16 years old. So I think we all need to retire. Jonathan Brown is P4, Nicky Meredith in P5. Getting too many things on my screen there for a second. But that was the quick update of championship points. That's 353 for Josh Malin, it seems. As we look at it now, well, if we could have that, that'd be great. All on 0 again. Restart again. There's the current championship points after that round. 353 for Josh Malin. And Keith Dempsey remains in P2 on 275. Dave Maguire on 268. Alex Dunn 255. So he's closing in. He's got 20 points to make up on Keith Dempsey. That is certainly doable. That's an even larger gap that Josh Malin has over Keith in P2. So it's basically all said. That's close to 80 points he's got over P2. So he's basically got it wrapped up. Nobody can challenge him until the drop round may come into effect. We don't know, but he's got a huge margin at the top of the order right at the moment. So basically all he's got to do, get that car across the line for the final round, and we can crown him the champion. But let's see if we could do that safely. But what better way to round out the iDMC winter season than to have 2 of our regulars on the front row? Peter McCann on pole, Tony Stack next to him. A fantastic way to round out this championship is if either of those guys could get across for a win. Yeah,
it would be a brilliant way, and I suppose with Josh already having wrapped up the title, essentially, it would be great to see one of the old heads, one of the guys that have been there for so long to cross the line and crown themselves the winner of the final feature race here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Remember, you could be a winner too. All you have to do is leave your vote for the driver of the day in the comments underneath. You get the opportunity to win this beautiful bit of gear, the SIMUCUBE 2 Pro, worth over €1,000, and probably the only reason I don't enjoy doing this job, because it means I can't go in for this competition. But thanks very much to SIMUCUBE for their partnership with that. Obviously, Digital-Motorsports.com using the SIMUCUBE technology as their OEM partner, and look, sales of direct drive wheelbases and accessories across the board. So do get to Digital-Motorsports.com for that. Or if you're in the market for pedals, the SimTag and Digital Motorsports have also continued their partnership as well. You can check out the link below to see their new hydraulic 2 pedal sets. And lots of promising news from there as well. Thanks as well to Shoreway, long-time sponsors of the iDMC Championship, and as well, of course, Digital-Motorsports.com, where you can get all that lovely gear. But now we go to the final ever race for the iDMC Pro season, round number 12. Jack, I'll leave you. You give us the grid for this evening.
Absolutely. The final one of the season, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Peter McCann, Tony Stack, Fabrizio Rivera and Rory O'Shea, Niall Murray, Ronan Doherty, Jordan Kelly and Dave Maguire, Richard Faulkner and Brian McManus is your top 10. Nicky Meredith and Jonathan Brown, Jason Smith, Alex Dunn, Josh Malin, Keith Dempsey from the back, and Kevin Lacey in P17. Get ready to go for the last time this season. We are going in Montreal for the final round of the iDMC Winter Series. Great start from Peter McCann. Great second phase for Tony Stack as they head towards turn number 1 for the last time. It was a spin immediately, and around goes Peter McCann, around goes Tony Stack, and it's immediately gone wrong. We immediately cursed them before it even started. They didn't even make it past turn 1. It's Rivera who leads away after turn number 1. Niall Murray is second. Roland Doherty is third. And what a fabulous getaway from Jordan Kelly is now further down. You can see Josh Malin getting in the mix in the middle. Oh, another big smash, and then contact between Dunn and Malin. Josh is in the wall, and again Alex Dunn was in the wall as well. Big moment there, and that could be a big turning point if the drop rounds there, but I think Josh Malin should still have enough of a margin to secure this one. But big moments as Niall Murray on the inside of Rivera heading down towards the chicane. Messy first lap from the guys, but Niall Murray drives through it, goes for the inside of the Italian. Niall Murray leads, but how about Jordan Kelly? He's a former champion, he's showing why he's up to third.
Unbelievable start. And we've been talking so much about Josh Malin and Alex Dunn. I just said how, Alex is really matured, and Josh, you don't find him on the radar of the stewards, and then all of a sudden the two of them are into the wall on lap one of the feature race. I don't think it'll make a massive amount of difference to the standings, but I'd be surprised if Fabrizio Rivera gets away without a penalty from that opening lap incident. It looked like he was the one that touched Brian McManus there at the beginning, or sorry, Peter McCann should I say, there at the beginning, which sent him spinning around and caused all that carnage at the beginning. But my God, what a start to this feature race. Absolute carnage, and potentially more to follow as we see Ronan Doherty going wide there through the final chicane, having to take the inside line. He'll get a slowdown, which will put him behind everybody else. Keith Dempsey now in 7th place, and Keith will be kicking himself now for that rejoin, because had he finished some way high up and challenged Josh Malin, potentially this could have been the moment where Josh threw away the championship with that late contact. As it stands, Niall Murray in first place, followed by Fabrizio Rivera, then Jordan Kelly. As you say, a brilliant start from Kelly, last year's season winner. He seems to have finally gotten a bit of a handle on these cars. He struggled earlier on in the season. Probably a little bit too late for him now, but for Alex Dunn and Josh Malin, still both in the pit. The two guys really on. No more contact. That's Dave Maguire sending Nicky Meredith around the wrong way through that. Again, these cars are just so difficult to race wheel to wheel, and it's going to be, as you say, Jack, I'm extremely looking forward to the TCR Championship, because I think it might lend itself a little bit more to a little bit closer racing.
Yeah, I think I'll go on the defence of Dave Maguire. That looked like net code from my end, but we'll have to wait and see what the stewards say about it. But again, it's Niall Murray with a 1.4 second lead at the head of the field. We're right on board with Brian McManus, the man who took a win, of course. Unexpectedly, spinner, and that's Rivera around in the hairpin. Now we don't know if he spun himself or he was sent around, but it looks like he's avoided any damage, thankfully for the Italian, and he drops down to 7th place. But Niall Murray leads this race by 2.2 seconds. Jordan Kelly is 2nd, Dave Maguire is 3rd, and Brian McManus is in 5th. Now Alex Dunn, Josh Malin and Peter McCann all on their way out of the pits at this moment in time, with the, of course, tow back to pit lane plus the faster pair, so they will emerge out onto the track at least to finish this race, which is exactly what we want to see them doing. But it is Niall Murray at the head of the field, and great to see him out front. Of course, he's kept it clean so far in this early phase of the race. Jordan Kelly trying to close in on them, but only lost about 3/10 on that lap, of course, with Rivera spinning in front of him. And now we're going to get a raft of stewards' investigations. Cars 12 and 77 are under investigation, of course, for that lap 1 incident. Now look at Keith Dempsey and Dave Maguire, and Keith trying to chase him down. Brian sticking in there in P5 as well. So a good opportunity for Brian to pick up some points is in this championship as well. Jordan Kelly trying to close in the gap on Niall Murray. Let's see if they have a similar pace. It's 20 laps, so it's quite a long race to round this up. But Dempsey, look at that, 12 places up from where he started. He started on the last row of the grid, and he's managed to pick his way through. But as you mentioned, Kevin, had he not had that penalty and managed to keep it clean, that could have been a massive moment in the championship. Yeah,
coulda, woulda, shoulda. Really, the story of this championship for Keith Dempsey, a lot closer than he was last season. But again, that rejoin, like even if Keith hadn't rejoined like that, he probably would have been able to gain back some places, gain back some points. That rejoin was just a nonsense rejoin, really, and put him into an awful lot of trouble for the rest of the race. And he'll be kicking himself now at that. He's probably frustrated as we see the replay of the incident again. Here's Peter McCann. You can see Fabrizio Rivera going down the inside of him. Peter puts on the brakes. Fabrizio goes late, touches him, which sends Peter into who else it was? It was first with Tony Stack, I think, and then they all concertinaed from there. Now thankfully most of the pack managed to get through that without too much incident, but there you go, another send here from Dave Maguire down the sorry, that's on Keith Dempsey, is it? Yeah, Keith, sending it on Dave, and then goes back at Dave again and almost takes him out on the far side. That was certainly late under braking there, was Keith trying to slam it down the inside Dave Maguire, and now that's allowed Brian McManus into 4th position now to split these two guys.
Dave saw him coming from a mile back, opened the door. He knew he wasn't going to make the corner, and Dave Maguire moves up to 3rd place now, so he's done well. But the gap between Jordan Kelly and Niall Murray coming down, 1.1 seconds it now lies at the head of the field. And let's see if Jordan Kelly can secure himself another win this championship. It's been a long time since we've had him on the top step. We got to go back to all the way to Indianapolis, I think, where we had him in the higher order course. He lost out on the line to Dave Maguire in the opening round. His car's 90, car 6 under investigation for lap 1 incident as well. So I would take the current finishing order with a pinch of salt, ladies and gentlemen. This could change a lot in the post-race standings. So we'll wait to see what that is going to be at the end of this race. But Jordan Kelly up 5. All these are up a lot of positions from where they started. You can see a lot of lap cars. So you see car 90 that ahead of them. That is, of course, Josh Malin. So that he's under Stewart's investigation as well. So not ideal for him in his chase of the championship. So I'm actually afraid to call who the champion is going to be. I think Josh has got enough of a margin, but it seems like it's going to come down to the stewards' room at the end of the day, which is not ideal. There's James Smith missing the front wing.
I certainly couldn't see our race stewards taking championship points away from Josh for an instant on the opening lap, so I think he should be safe enough. Disappointing way for him to end the championship, for that to happen, but nonetheless, I'd be very, very surprised if anything but Josh was our winner in this championship. Obviously, we need official confirmation of that. But he has such a strong lead in the championship, and you'd imagine that even in the drop week counting, he'd still be well ahead. But yeah, fantastic to see Niall Murray out the front. He already has 2 podiums in this championship already, and looking for his first race win of this championship, being followed closely by Jordan Kelly. Jordan, I suppose, a little bit disappointed in his championship. He's 19th overall in the championship standings, and unusual for him to be so far down, given the fact that he was so strong last season, handing over, of course, now the mantle to Josh Malin as the current iDMC Pro Championship winner. But a good battle up the front, only 0.2 of a second now between them, and I'd be interested to see whether Jordan goes for a move down into the chicane.
Yeah, he's getting the slipstream. Murray goes defensive down towards the last chicane. You can see it now, moves to the outside line. Jordan Kelly's going to be brave on the outside. No, Niall Murray shuts the door as they head into the last chicane. Now Jordan with the run on the way out through the wall of champions, down towards turn 1, has got himself on that inside line as they come across the start. Lap number 6 of 20. Kelly is firmly alongside as they head into the first corner. He's got it on the brakes. Niall tries to squeeze him, but Jordan Kelly is coming through whether you like it or not, and Jordan Kelly leads the last round of the iDMC Pro Winter season, and he's back at the head of the field where we were so used to seeing him in the previous championship, and he now leads at Montreal. Let's see if Niall, a clatter of the wall on the way out for Jordan Kelly, scrapes that wall. He might have got away with that, but I mean, that's he's pushing hard. You can see he's trying to open out the gap as much as he can, because the man who's on some great pace at the moment is Dave Maguire in P3's trying to chip away at that gap, the number 4 car, trying to chip away at the guys in front. If they keep scrapping up in front, that'll help them out a lot. And also they've got the problem now of they're now catching up to some back markers. The back markers being Josh Malin and Alex Dunn. What is going on between those guys up in front, weaving back and forth as they head into the hairpin? This time they're side by side, they're trying to go wheel to wheel, and we have now the leaders from the sprint race and the leaders of the current race about to get lapped in this one as well. This is crazy stuff happening here at Montreal. So Josh Malin and Alex Dunn are in front of these guys. Jordan Kelly's going to try and negotiate his way through these guys, but he's got to be careful. They're going to scrap pretty hard there. Josh and Alex, they do move out of the way, thankfully, out of the way for these guys, and they slot back into position. I knew they weren't going to get involved too much there, but that allowed Jordan a bit of breathing space right there. I thought that was going to get a little bit messy, but they managed to get through unscathed. Yeah,
I thought that might be a bit touch and go there, alright. And as you say, you were saying in front of Jordan Kelly and Niall Murray are Alex Dunn and Josh Malin, only for the fact that they're at the previous lap. So it's absolutely mad stuff altogether. Good to see those two scrapping as well, though, with Alex Dunn and Josh. I think they'll be the first of many scraps we see between these two this season. Of this season will be the first of many scraps, should I say, going forward into the next couple of seasons. But again, Jordan Kelly, as you say, really a massively quick guy. Very surprised to see him struggle this season, given the fact that he's had such Formula V experience. Of course, Formula V is coming to iRacing, so no doubt we can expect to see that as an iDMC championship in the future, putting the words in Niall Maher's mouth. But given the fact that we have so many guys who have Formula V experience in Ireland, and it forms such a key blueprint of some of the racing we see down in Mondello. It'll be fantastic to see how these guys get on in iRacing with the new car that's coming to the service. But Jordan Kelly leading, as we say. Big contact. There's a swap there as Dave Maguire goes down the inside of Brian McManus into third, I think, or is it Brian losing out to Keith Dempsey? I saw a few people losing out there down the timing table, but Dave Maguire now in third position, behind with Keith Dempsey in fifth. So Keith that lost those places, I think, Jack.
I think it was position loss for Keith, yeah, so he's dropped down just a couple of seconds behind Brian now, so he's just backed off a little bit. It looks for here's Niall Murray. He's dropped it now 1.8 off the back. He's dropped into the clutches of Dave Maguire, who's also got Josh and Alex behind the two behind him. So they want to avoid that. That was Jordan getting past Peter McCann, I believe, who's a lap down now as well. But here's Dave Maguire trying to chase down. There's Brian McManus. That's Alex Dunn behind him. So there's a lot of lap cars in the middle of this. But Dave Maguire has really closed up to the back of Niall Murray. Into the chicane they go, and Dave trying to get himself another podium to add to his collection in this championship. And not a bad debut season at the Pro Championship. Tries to go and look for that inside line for the left-hander, goes for it on the inside, shows himself but can't quite get alongside in this battle. Josh Malin watching on from behind, a lap down of course, but he doesn't want to get himself too involved in this one as they head down the back straight once again. You can see the other car, Brian McManus, has also decided he wants a piece of it as well as they close in behind into this battle again. Dave goes for it on the inside and he manages to get it this time, so Dave moves up to second place. A car runs off, Josh Malin runs off on the grass, but he gets back going again. Thankfully no harm done between the both of those guys, but it's now Jordan Kelly at the head of the field, Dave Maguire in second, Niall Murray in third, and we have now some new challengers, Brian McManus in fourth and Keith Dempsey in fifth, less than a second behind in this fight. Across the line to start lap number 9, Jordan Kelly. He's now he's showing what he can do, Kevin. 3.5 seconds clear. That is that's what we know. That's the pace we know from him.
Yeah, massive. And we see Keith Debs. No, sorry, that was a bit of a glitch in the timing table. But as I say, yeah, Jordan, again the quickest there with a 1:37.2 in the last lap. 1:37 now flat for Jordan as he just crosses the line. Will have benefited the course from that battle between Dave and Niall. Dave showing his car plenty of times, Niall making sure that I suppose a very experienced operator and well used to that, so didn't put him off. But Dave getting the job done in the end, and once again showing us how quick he is in these USF2000 cars. As a little bit of a tap on the wall there. A few times we've seen. I'll be interested to see whether that is down as the 0x, whether it's actually recognised as a car contact or not. But yeah, Keith Dempsey now down in 5th position. Keith doesn't like it when his position matches his car number. As we see a spinner behind him, is that Alex Dunn? I think that kind of cut off there. It is Alex into the pit now. So Josh Malin moves up to 14th. But as a move there from Keith, goes down the inside of Niall Murray. So Keith now ahead of Niall Murray. Did that in the feature race, did that in the heat race, should I say, before spinning out. So hopefully keep it on track here. Keith actually has the fastest lap thus far with a 1:36.8. He's the first to drop in to the 36s, and now hunting down Brian McManus with a 1.3 second gap. 3.5 seconds separating Jordan Kelly and Dave Maguire, so even with 11 laps left, it'll take a monumental effort for Dave to do that. But given Dave's pace this year, can't write him off.
Yeah, Brian McManus moved up to third now as well, running well. Actually only a second off the back of Dave Maguire as well. A little twitch from Jordan coming through the champions, but he's got clean air there. As you can see, look how close they're getting to that tyre fail in the wall of champions as they come on to lap number 10, the halfway point of the final round of the season. Let's have a look at the lap times. 37.3 for Jordan on that lap by, 37.5 for Dave, 37.4, 37.9. They're all, of course, in a battle at the moment, but Jordan is the fastest man out there at the moment in the clean air, which is exactly what he wants to be seeing. And he's only got half the race to go to get himself back on the top step. And there is Dave Maguire. There's Brian McManus behind him in third place, but Keith Dempsey is bearing down on Brian McManus as well, only 0.6 of a second off the back of him. On board now with Keith Dempsey, a multiple champion in the Digital Motorsports seasons as well. But it's been a bit of a dry spell over the course of the few championships we've had. And he's, of course, sitting second at the moment in this championship. I think he should be able to secure that second place, staying where he is. It's going to be pretty tight. But, of course, Alex Dunn going to be a no-score in this one. He's officially out of this race with just the 10 laps remaining. But Dempsey could have maybe put a late challenge on, put some pressure on Josh Mail in the championship in this last round. But it's, alas, it was not to be for this man. But he's going to have a go, nonetheless, to get himself on the podium as they come down the back straight in the slipstream of Brian McManus in front of him with two regulars. They know each other very well over the course of these a lot of championships they've been in together. And does he go for it on the inside? Brave stuff, goes late on the brakes. Brian leaves him the room, and Keith Dempsey sides his way up to third place. And he now chases after Dave Maguire, and he is the fastest man on the circuit to add to that as well. So Keith is on a charge. He wants to get himself the best result he can, but look at that, they're all within the same tenth of a second. 37.3, 37.3, and 37.3.
Yeah, it's very, very close between all three of them the last lap. And as you say, Keith is fastest on circuit, has had the fastest lap. He's stealing a charge now, and he's trying to make up for lost time in that heat race. Obviously, too late, unfortunately, to challenge Josh Malin. But fantastic! It'll be great to see Dave Maguire finishing second in this championship again with fantastic season he's had. And you know, great to see as well, Jack. Just on a side point, as we see some of those gorgeous helicopter shots, which I'm so fond of, particularly nice around this circuit. But it's a circuit that, even though it's licensed circuits and it's a Formula One track, it's one we rarely get to race on in terms of iRacing official events. I bought the circuit for, I think it was the IMSA series, but it's very, very rarely do we see racing come here, as opposed to, you know, the kind of the stock favourites of Le Mans and the Nordschleife and etc. etc. So it's fantastic to see racing here. I think it's a brilliant track. It's one of my favourite tracks on the Formula One calendar. It provides great racing no matter what class of car you have. And you know, I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully it'll be something that we'll see more often in the iDMC Championship, particularly when we go to Italy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really underrated circuit for racing here. It's got the long straight, it's got the slow corners where you can throw one up the inside if you've got the bravery to do so. And certainly it's provided some good action tonight. There's your times cross the line. 2/10 gained for Dave Maguire in that previous time. Keep them still at 37.3, so they're all at a very similar pace and not making any inroads on each other. As we look back to Fabrizio Rivera chasing after Niall Murray, trying to get himself a top 5 in this one. Looks to the outside, switches back to the inside again, sells the dummy on the inside and goes for it and gets it stopped and done on Niall Murray. Great stuff from the Italian, who's himself into a top 5 place, which would not be a bad recovery. After what happened earlier on. I think he is in the steward's room under investigation, but even so, if you can get as many places as you can, then that may help him out. You see the head of the field now, 3 seconds, the gap between Jordan Kelly and Dave Maguire. So Dave is chipping away, but he's not quite doing enough to catch Jordan by the end of the race. They're just on too similar a pace to make any inroads on each other, and I think he'll be happy with how his championship has gone overall, considering he was a Pro-Am the previous season with BMWs, and now has mixed it up and get himself a top 5 in the Pro Series, which is a fantastic way to make your mark in the championship. Lap 13 to 20 about to begin, so not long left in this championship. Of course, don't forget, of course, he could be in with a chance of winning that SIMUCUBE 2 Pro. Just tell us who your driver of the day is below, and the winner will be announced, of course, next week at the final round of the Pro-Am Championship. Make sure to tune in for the Pro-Am Championship, because there's about 6 people in the who win the title in that one, and that is one certainly not to be missed. We've no idea who's leading it, who's going to win, so tune in same time next week for the Pro-Ams. It's going to be a fantastic end to that season. That'll round out. That's Fabrizio Rivera. I think he might have an issue pulling over to the side of the road, and I'd wager my money that could be a hardware issue for Fabrizio Rivera if he's just pulled off the road immediately like that. That's a shame for Fabrizio. Was on for a top 5, had to pull the car over and come back to pit lane. I'd wager my money that could be a wheel issue.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's very unfortunate for Fabrizio, because we were speaking in the sprint race about what a fantastic season he's had, his debut season in the iDMC. And as we say, we always like to see more foreign drivers involved, and mixing it with the Irish lads as well. We'll have a foreign winner of the iDMC for the first time ever, although he's been racing so long now in the iDMC Championship, we can hardly call him. He's an adopted Irishman almost at this stage, Josh Malin. But, it's great to see him involved in this championship for Victor Rivera. Such a disappointment that he's had, as you say, Jack, those late hardware issues. But as you were saying as well, Jack, that SIMUCUBE Pro race wheel up for grabs for Driver of the Day. Who would you nominate for Driver of the Day to have the opportunity?
I actually think for myself it would be Jordan. I think he's done a great job. He's driven, he hasn't been involved in any instance, he's kept it clean, and he's basically shown why he was champion of the BMWs. I know he's not too fond of single-seaters. I think he prefers, on iRacing at least, I think he prefers the GTs over the single-seaters. But even so, I tried to keep this man away from a Formula V championship. He'll be in it like a shot for that one. But I think it will go well in the TCRs as well. But a man who I think is also going to do very well in the TCR championship is Keith Dempsey, because he's a former champion.
Of course, yeah, and a former champion in a lot of things, and really quick. I don't think anybody needs to worry about Keith's credentials. Quick again today, not quite quick enough, I don't think, to challenge Jordan for the overall race win with just 6 laps left. But very quick. Stole a march on Brian McManus, made light work of that. Who's in 4th position, Brian. Great to see Brian so high up as well. We're talking about Peter McCann and Tony Stack, and unfortunately for them, their races ended early. We're still waiting for Stewart's decision on those opening lap incidents. But for Brian, he's one of the guys who's been around for ages himself, racing alongside Jordan, of course, in the Nürburgring Digital Challenge, and I think they have another. They got a first place, of course, at the recent endurance championship, which the full name I cannot remember, but Jack, no doubt you will know it. Krenvek, that's it. Yeah. So congratulations to them for that as well, for their first place position in that. So 2 guys, Jordan and Brian, who are very quick, as you say. I know you say obviously Jordan prefers the GT cars, but as you say, 7 places up in the heat race and now leading the feature race. I couldn't disagree with you on your choice of driver today.
Absolutely, and make sure you get your choices in before next week, of course, or you could do it next week. You can watch the Pro-Am, give a driver of the day there, and you'll be entered in the draw for that direct drive wheel, which is a series piece of kit. It's worth over €1,000, so we're a bit jealous. Whoever gets it, we'll be wanting to have a go on it. There is Josh Malin. He's only got 5 laps left before he gets himself provisionally crowned the champion of this series, and he's running around in 11th place right now. Jonathan Brown looks like he's got a slowdown there, actually, just coming out of the chicane. Got back going again, thankfully for him. There's Peter McCann, who's starting on pole. I'm feeling really bad for Peter getting sent around on the first lap. And I tell you what, Tony Stack has recovered amazingly well after lap 1. He's up in 6th for Tony. And remember, he was missing the rear wing. He was missing everything on that car in turn number 1. And recovered himself back up to 6th. And great to see Tony up there in the order as well. He's a regular in the championship as well. Now, back to these guys. An interesting development. Dave Maguire is now only 2 seconds behind. He's putting some pressure on now to our leader with only 4 laps to go across the line. Dave Maguire, he wants another win to add to his tally. Jordan Kelly wants to get himself back on the top step of the podium. Let's have a look at the laps this time by. Jordan Kelly sets a 37.7. Dave Maguire does a 37.1. That is 0.6 of a second. He twitched through turn 1. He's flying. Keith Dempsey's actually going a little bit quicker in the background as well. So these guys are lapping 6 to 7 tenths of a second quicker than Jordan Kelly. If that pace continues, Jordan's in trouble.
Yeah, you'd wonder what happened to Jordan to mean that he's lost such an amount of time. Was it just a single slowdown or something? Because it seems unusual. Jordan was absolutely flying there for a while, and I'm not sure whether how he's so far off the pace now. Dave Maguire now 1.7 seconds. He has him in his sights, and that's really, it gives you such encouragement as a driver when you're chasing someone up the front. You know, you see the gap slowing, and you can see it on the numbers, but until you see the visual back wing of the car ahead of you, and you see that slowly coming towards you through the corners. That gives you massive encouragement to push on. 1.7 now the gap between Dave and Jordan. So still, I said it might be a lot for him to make it back, but still a good chance here for Dave Maguire. 1.6 now that gap is down to between those two. David, it won't be long before David's in the slipstream if he can keep going. I don't think he'll quite be 7/10 quicker a lap like he was on Jordan last time, but still he should be fairly quick nonetheless. Definitely quicker than Jordan Kelly on this lap, and hopefully we'll see him get within the slipstream in the final few laps, because it would be fantastic to see these two guys battle it out for the final laps and to finish off the iDMC Pro Winter season with a bit of a tussle in the final feature race.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see the lap time. I think it was about 4/10 in favour of Dave Maguire, 37.3. There's a 3/10 in favour, but Keith Dempsey was the man who was 6/10 of a second quicker than Jordan Kelly out at the head of the field. And this is getting interesting now. Now, I wonder, has Jordan just backed off a little bit to save up the tyres, or maybe he's just enough where he is, he's backing off, but I wouldn't be backing off that much. When you have Dave Maguire chasing down, Jordan will be seeing that now. He's going to be just glancing in the mirror, seeing that black number 4 car chasing him down. Thankfully for him, the laps are mercifully short around Montreal, only 1 minute 37 laps, which are quite short in comparison to some of the tracks we've been to over the course of this season. 2.5 the gap comes down to now. Jordan Kelly versus Dave Maguire versus Keith Dempsey. It looks like it's going to be for the win. There's Brian McManus down in 4th. He's about 6 seconds behind him. He's actually got Josh Malin behind him, and I don't think Josh is going to throw one down the inside on them. But nonetheless, look at the gap, 1.3 seconds. Dave is dangerously close to that slipstream of Jordan Kelly, and seems like George just might be struggling a little bit now. You can see him just drifting out wide on the outs of the hairpin as well, not getting on the power as much as he would like through there, and Dave is visibly closer than he was on the previous lap. Just 1.3 separates them now, and at the current rate, Dave's going to be under a second behind him at the end of the next lap. So this is going to be some fight towards the end. Jordan Kelly desperately trying to cling on to his lead position. Across the line they come. You can see how close they are now. 1.3 seconds it is, with just 3 laps remain in the iDMC Pro Winter season. 37.4, 37.0, 4/10 taken out by Dave Maguire, 37.1 for Keith. He's a little bit slower. That was a personal best from Dave Maguire, but Dave is hungry for it, and I'm sure the Maguire household is on tenterhooks right now.
Yeah, do not take your eyes off this. Everybody should be at the edge of their seats in the same way that no doubt those in the Maguire household will be. David is pushing hard in this one. Very, very similar, very close lap times now between Dave and Keith, closing in on Jordan Kelly. We only have 3 laps left of this championship, and they're set to be extremely exciting ones. Now Dave is getting up to the second mark. About 0.8 to 0.9 of a second, I think, is around where the slipstream begins on this USF2000 cars. Kind of depends on the cars, but it'll be interesting to see if Dave can get within that gap going through the hairpin. We've seen Jordan drift wide through the hairpin the last time. They've made some ground on that one. Now it's 0.9 of a second, back up to 1 second. Probably going to be difficult for Dave to get. We can see it falling slightly, but just not enough for Dave to be within slipstream down the back straight here along the river here going through Montreal. But it is going to be a really close one. Do expect Dave Maguire to be challenging up against Jordan Kelly at this exact spot in 2 laps time.
Yeah, it seems to be now 2 laps to go here in Montreal. Jordan Kelly getting a good exit out of the Water Champion chicane. Opens the gap out slightly that time, with 3/10 gain for Dave Maguire. He was in that slipstream, getting down into the braking zone, but now, of course, he's going to have that horrible dirty air off the back of the car in front. Now opens out to 1.2 seconds. Jordan just needs to keep him there at that 1.3 gap, and he's really managing this quite nicely, Jordan Kelly, at the moment. It opens out to 1.4. Small errors from Dave Maguire, which he can't afford to make in these late phase of the race. He's opened that gap back out, and Keith Dempsey is going slow. He's had a mistake somewhere in the lap, and he drops now to 7 seconds behind these guys. It's now, you can see, look at that, Jordan Kelly has opened the gap out, and Dave Maguire got a slowdown. That should be it for now for Jordan Kelly. I think Jordan's done enough now. Dave's made an error somewhere, and I think Jordan has done he's going very slow, actually, trying to get rid of a slowdown here, and really having to back off here. Is this a terminal problem for Dave Maguire, really having to slow down the back straight here, and that puts an end to that could be another problem as well. He's crawling around Dave Maguire in this last phase. Are the drivers struggling on fuel? That could be a good spot from you, Kevin, because I think that could have been a reason Jordan might have been trundling around here. He's got one more lap. Actually, no, he doesn't have another lap. This is the last lap now because the timer's ticked to 30 minutes. Jordan is crawling towards the last 2 corners. He's done enough. Jordan Kelly wins the last round of the championship in Montreal. He's crawling that car across the start-finish line. He's done it at last. Jordan Kelly wins in Montreal. Brian McManus, what a drive, Brian McManus. He gets the both of them as they both run out of fuel. They're out of fuel in the background. McManus does it in the back, and he's pushing him. Oh, great stuff, Keith Dempsey. Great stuff, Keith Dempsey. He's pushing Dave Maguire across the line. That's great from Keith. That gets a round of applause from everybody at home there. Drove immensely well, just ran out of fuel. Tony stacking fourth. Great job from Tony, but that is some fantastic sportsmanship there as Keith Dempsey pushes Dave Maguire across the line to finish this race in Montreal. Great stuff. It's what we like to see in this championship. Jordan Kelly, though, and Brian McManus, a VRA 1-2. Niall Murray, third. Tony stacking fourth. But I think it's the man of the hour we have to have a look at now. Josh Malin has done it. He is the champion of the iDMC Pro Winter Series. There's the donuts from the Englishman. He's finally done it. It's a long time coming for Josh. I'm delighted for him that it's finally gone his way. He is the first non-Irish champion in the history of Digital Motorsports and fully deserves that one. And there's going to be some massive celebrations tonight over in the UK, I think.
Yeah, get DHL at the ready, get your customs forms out. Josh Malin will have the trophy sitting in his living room, soon enough, from the iDMC Championship. What a brilliant drive. Probably one of the most deserved victories the iDMC Championship has seen. He's been so quick from beginning to end, so consistent. Apart from literally just one incident in that final race, and the championship was already wrapped up. Josh Malin, he's had 4 wins in the championship, 4 wins out of 12 races. That's an incredible podium as well. So almost half of the races he's been in, he's either podiumed or won. What a fantastic championship from Josh Malin, a well-deserved winner. And as I was saying, Jack, Josh, you could sometimes come across sports people and there's humbleness about them, but it almost seems slightly contrived. Whereas with Josh, it's real, genuine. You get a sense he's just a really nice guy, really well liked within the iDMC community. And I don't think there'll be a lot of people complaining about this win for Josh. He's been absolutely brilliant from beginning to end, and a well-deserved champion of the 2021 iDMC Pro Championship, Mr. Josh Malin.
Yeah, he came so close last season versus Jordan Kelly, missing out because of that disconnect in Spa, but finally it's all gone his way. He's doing in-sync donuts with Peter McCann. There's lovely stuff, lads, in turn number 1. Absolutely spot on. But yeah, Josh Malin top 10 in the final round. That will of course be enough to secure himself the title, and no more deserving in that one. Brian McManus, I tell you what, he comes out of nowhere to secure them results. P2 did enough, I think, to save the fuel, get across the line. Niall Murray getting third. Tony Stack, I mean, Tony, I think, deserves a shout for driver of the day as well, because remember what happened to him in turn 1, recovers back to 4. That's a hell of a drive from Tony, I must say, in this one. I think we're going to need some new engines, some new tyres for these guys, because they have just destroyed the tyres in those USF2000. We're not going to need them again, of course. It's the last time we're going to see them for a little while at least. But the TCR is coming up in the next championship. But don't forget the Pro-Am next week as well. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have some more of these cars for the Pro-Ams at the very least. But it is a fantastic way to round it out, and a great way, I think, a great final winner as well, the former Jordan Kelly. He's had a really disappointing season, and definitely deserved to stand on top of the podium at least once.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's been quick the last couple of rounds, in fairness, Jordan Kelly as well. He's certainly got into the groove after really struggling with these cars early on. But it is absolutely, it's great to see him get a win. Great to see Brian McManus as well in second place. The 2 VRA guys standing side by side. But look, Josh is absolutely, the champagne is being unpopped across the water, or whatever champagne they can get in from France now, the import tax. Or maybe just beer, I'm not sure what it is for Josh. But what a fantastic! He's just absolutely reveling in that moment, and I suppose he was almost able. Well, he really was, certainly in this last round 12. But even coming into this week, he was able to just enjoy a little bit more. He had such a massive gap built up of going into the championship that he was able to, just enjoy it that little bit more. And once he got that win in that feature race, that was pretty much the championship done and dusted. But what a final round here from Montreal. I was worried that given how frenetic the start of the feature race was, that we might have a bit of a difficult one, given the fact that a lot of people have probably kind of clocked in now at this point that they know they haven't a chance of winning the championship. But some really, really good battling right to the end, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. And right on cue, we have our provisional champion, Josh Mayland, joins us from over in the UK. Josh, I mean, something's finally gone your way in the championship. He came close last season, but finally getting a championship to add to the belt. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It was a really good first race for me. I think it was my usual luck this weekend. This race, I should say. But yeah, no, I'm really, really happy to bring home the title, and fingers crossed we can keep that momentum going forward into the next iDMC season.
Absolutely, yeah. We're heading, of course, into the touring cars for the next one, the Audi TCR. Much experience with that car? Looking forward to racing it?
Strangely enough, yes. During the first lockdown, I was part of the Power Max D series, and I won the pro, sort of the real life drivers class. So yeah, I'd like to think that'll be quite a good season.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Of course, we have a short break now before we get to the next one. But, of course, Championship 1 now. Any plans for any celebrations? Of course, you can, because your bloody bars are open.
I mean, I would invite you over for a drink, but, travel and that, it's a bit...
Yeah.
bit iffy at the moment. It's a very strange time, and thanks to the likes of iRacing and other sims out there, and Digital-Motorsports being providers for sim rigs and sim equipment, it's been a massive help through lockdown. And I mean, thank you to Digital-Motorsports, not only for hosting this fantastic league, but also for helping source my Hussenfeld Ultimate pedals. They've really made a difference, and I'm really enjoying using them. It's quite weird to think that I was the slowest qualifier, which I still can't get over. I mean, I did struggle to gel with this car, but once I sort of got into a rhythm, got into a groove, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. We'll get a drink sometime, Josh, but congratulations. Go celebrate your championship. Congratulations, and we'll see you for the TCR Championship in a few weeks' time. Congratulations.
No worries. Cheers, Jack. Cheers, Kevin. See you later.
Cheers. Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely. Well, I'll hand you over, Kevin, because we have a multiple champion in with us, Keith Dempsey.
Yeah, Keith, not the first time we've had a chat, and I suppose whatever outside opportunity you had of winning the championship probably went in that heat race. Tell us a little bit about that incident going into the final chicane, and I suppose a little bit about the rejoin, because funnily enough, given how the difficulties that Josh had in the final race, that rejoin could have been potentially what kind of cost you the opportunity getting close to challenging him.
Yeah, it wasn't one of my finest moments. I thought the field had gone. I didn't have my black box on the relative, and I couldn't see who was coming. I knew it was a relatively small grid tonight, so I thought the majority of them had gone, but I fucked up, and sorry to the lads I hate, I ruined their races, and then I got a penalty as I deserved for it. So yeah, these things happen. Not something I'd normally do, but yeah, one of them things.
Yeah, but look, in the grand context of things, I remember I was speaking to you, and we were speaking on air for the Off the Grid podcast and for Beat, and you were saying that I suppose the last championship, the BMW championship, was disappointing because you were so far off. You're much closer this time. I suppose sign of progress. I know for you, progress is finishing. Not finishing first isn't progress in a way, but I suppose look, the signs are going in the right direction as we head into the next season of the iDMC.
Look, I'm happy enough for how I got on. most of the races. I think my qualifying pace is what really has let me down today. I made a mistake, I put it on the wall on my last lap, which would have put me, I don't think it would have been as quick as Josh, but it definitely would have put me P2 anyway. But yeah, look, that's my mistake. No excuses, but we had a good start in the first race, and was looking forward to having a battle with the two lads. And maybe I was a little bit too keen at that point of the race. So I thought maybe Alex might have left us a bit more racing room. But yeah, look, these things happen. But was looking forward to having a good race with the lads, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And then obviously me rejoin, and then yeah, getting the penalty and stuff kind of made that race. Then I spun at the end, and I ran out of X's, and it was just a shit show.
Yeah, as well as just look, I suppose look, everyone's entitled to one of those nights, and I think we were all kind of disappointed about the incident with Alex, but it was hard, kind of even looking back on it to pin blame or because it is one of those things where I suppose Alex
to blame.
Yeah,
I think Alex is blaming me. He's calling me stupid and stuff on the iRacing, which is a little bit uncalled for. But sure, look, he's young. We all get wound up by these things, but look, these things happen. So no, I wouldn't pass blame at Alex or myself. I think it was just a racing deal. Neither of us wanted to give up the space, so that's fair enough.
Yeah, and I definitely would agree with you there. I suppose, Keith, and it's funny now that just off the back, because as you say, tensions are running high, and Alex is a young guy. And I'm sure, yeah, we've all been there. But for guys like Alex and even a guy like Dave McGuire, who was in Pro-Am last season, for these guys now to be challenging up the top, it is fantastic to see that young kind of talent coming through. Jason Smith, another young guy as well. So I suppose this championship, we've kind of started to unearth some guys that we mightn't have necessarily been on the radar before, and that can only be a good thing for the iDMC.
Yeah, no, it's great to have all this young talent coming through. I thought with them all going back to school, they might get a bit slower, but that's not the case, unfortunately. So I just have to up my game.
Yeah, and the old school from home definitely was Keith, look, thanks so much for being so magnanimous. It's a difficult night for you, but as I said to Jack before, your credentials have already been well established, and great to see you back up challenging for the lead again, and no doubt when it comes to the TCR cars. You've been looking forward to that. Just before you leave us, I suppose, tell us a little bit about kind of you're a guy who was across multiple different cars and multiple different championships. So what can we kind of look forward to from the TCR? I suppose closer racing, at least, because these USF2000 cars don't really lend themselves to very close wheel-to-wheel racing.
The USFs have kind of improved a lot throughout the season with the netcode and stuff, and iRacing got a good bit better with the last couple of updates. But I think the TCRs should be a lot closer racing. You won't have the aero wash that you do from a single seater, even though it's not that bad in the USF. But in the TCR, you kind of don't really lose that much. You gain when you're closer to another car. So should lead to closer racing, hopefully. And yeah, it'd be nice to get the grids up a little bit. But if we keep the same quality of driver in the field, it'll be should be a really good championship. Like, everyone has progressed really well, and we've got so many quick lads here now. Like, so it's it's great to have.
Yeah, quick lads, including yourself. Keith, thanks a million for joining us, and congratulations on the season as a whole. I think, as you say, it's been a good season on the whole, and we really look forward to seeing you for the next season. The TCR.
Thanks to yourself, and Jack, you've done a great job as well. Fair play.
Thanks for pushing Dave across the line as well, Keith. Great
stuff. Yes, of course.
I couldn't hit him anymore. I just ran out of X's. If I hit him again, I was going to lose, get disqualified. So I went 2 DNFs. So yeah, had to be done. He deserved it.
A really nice way to end the championship. In fairness. So thanks a million, Keith. Jack, you're joined by a man of few words, but hopefully you might be able to extract a few more out of him, given that he's won tonight, Jordan Kelly.
Absolutely. Well, Jordan, great to see you back at the top once again. Rounding up the championship with a win. Look, I mean, the championship hasn't been the best for yourself, but good way to end it. TCR is coming up next. I think there's a bit of confidence there.
Yeah, it was a good race from the first race. It was kind of bit of a shit show. Somebody crashed into a wall and I had nowhere to go, so I kind of had him. But that was that race over. But I managed to just in the second race realise that there wasn't enough of. There was very tight for fuel, so I was kind of clutching, kind of coming into the heavy braking zones and stuff for about 8 laps. So lucky I realised that, but I was getting a bit under pressure whenever I seen them, the two coming behind and stuff. But then I realised that they didn't have enough of fuel and stuff, but you just don't know that until they actually start dropping off a bit. But It was good. It was good to get the 1-1 this season. Anyway.
Yeah, great. Yeah, awesome stuff. And I mean, he got plenty of practice with fuel saving in the EDMC at least, so you
Oh,
at least you use that use that for this one. But yeah, Jordan, TCR is next. I know you're a fan of the TCR car, so
Yeah.
and as well, Formula V's coming into iRacing. How are you feeling about that?
Hopefully use a good. I know there's like 7 different specs of V's around the world. Like there's German, UK, Irish, American, then Canadian, Mexican, Brazil, Australia, South Africa. Like it depends kind of what kind of model they kind of go for. It'll probably be a mixture of kind of everything, hopefully, but it'll be interesting to see what they come up with now. But it should be good. If it's
Yeah,
anything
cool.
like real life, it definitely will be good.
Yeah, we expect no less. But yeah, Jordan, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to or a thank you to?
Just Niall and the lads and all the VRA racing team, and congrats to Josh in the championship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan, thanks for hopping in with us. We'll see you in the TCR Championship in a few weeks.
See you later, lads.
See you, Jordan. Well, that was Jordan Kelly who jumped in with us, and yeah, great to have him jumping in as well. Again, I think it just shows you that was his only win this season. It came right at the end of the championship, but you can see there. You can see the points breakdown as well on your right hand side. Jordan Kelly getting 50, and all the way down to 17 for 13 points. But yeah, Kevin, I mean, I'll leave it to you to wrap up, but it's been some season, new champion, TCR's on the way, lots to come.
Yeah, lots to come on the way. I'm really looking forward to that championship sponsor. Thanks again, of course. Don't forget, if you haven't done it yet, get on it. Name your driver of the day for a chance of winning that SIMUCUBE 2 Pro wheelbase, over €1,000 worth of a wheelbase. They're really, really fantastic stuff. Thanks as well to SimTag. Their pedals are available on Digital-Motorsports.com as well. The hydraulic pedals. Thanks as well to the Shoreway Group and, of course, Digital Motorsports, and indeed Motorsport Ireland. We haven't mentioned them for their ongoing partnership here with us. Shoreway Group are longtime sponsors of Digital Motorsports, and of course, digitalmotorsports.com is where to get all of that gear. So, Jordan Kelly with the feature win, but it is Josh Malin that takes that provisional title. We will have a full round down of the championship points soon. You can head to digitalmotorsports.com for that. But Jack, what a brilliant championship! I think this has been the championship really where we've unearthed some guys, as I said to Keith, where we've unearthed some dark horses. We've seen the rise of Dave Maguire. We've seen the likes of Alex Dunn, I suppose, turning that potential into results, and the same with Jason Smith, two young guys, and a winner, and funnily enough, in a championship that's kind of been the proving ground for a lot of guys. It is the old hand, and the guy who's been there so often and has been the bridesmaid so often, but never the bride. Josh Malin, who gets over the line. And as we say, Jack, I don't think there's anybody more deserving, or anybody that anybody would, nobody could deny him this championship, because it's just been a fantastic championship win right from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, there really, really has. But you'd be happy to know that that's not the end of the USF2000 action just yet. Don't forget, next week, same time, we will have the championship finale for the Pro-Am Championship. And that is one I mentioned about. This is the third time I've mentioned it. Do not miss the Pro-Am, because it's a hell of a lot closer than it is here over in the Pro Championship. We've got about 6 guys that are in contention for the championship. It's been totally crazy, mixed up orders every single week, different winners every week. It's been mad, and the Pro-Ams have been really something to look at. So don't miss that. It's at the same time, 8:30 next week, and that'll be the last time we see the USF2000s on track. Then we go on to a break, and we're back with the TCRs a few weeks down the line. And I think we're mostly from memory's sake, I think we're sticking with mostly UK tracks on that one. And then, of course, we have the championships further down the line in the pipeline that we'll announce in due course. But Kevin, it's been a pleasure being alongside you for the Pro Series, and I'm looking forward to the Pro-Am already. I can't wait for that championship final next week.
I have to say, and even though I'm not over it, I've been watching some of those races. The racing is absolutely superb. So yeah, do check that out. Of course, remember as well, at the end of that Pro-Am Championship, we'll be announcing the winner of that SIMUCUBE 2 Pro base wheelbase as well. So make sure you're involved in that. As Jack said, any one of 6 could win it. And if you enjoyed some of the carnage, some of the thrills and spills around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, then you can be sure that with 6 potential winners of the championship next week, it is going to be a feisty affair. But Jack, as you say, thanks a million. It's always a pleasure being in your company for these championships. I'm really, really looking forward to the TCR championship, I have to say. Some really close racing as well. So there's a huge amount coming down your way. So do subscribe to the Digital Motorsports channel. That's where you can get it all. And do leave your comment for. And unless you have anything to add to that long ramble, which I have been doing over the past couple of weeks, from here in Montreal in Canada, it's slán go fóill, au revoir.
They say that perfection doesn't exist in this game. Most players just don't have it in them. But those who dare to seek it might catch excellence. And that sounds perfect to me. So, I'm done playing. Let's drive.
Enjoying what you're watching and want to become the next sim racing star? Here at Digital-Motorsports.com, not only can we supply all the parts, but we can custom build your dream simulator rig from start to finish. Just like we have done for world famous drivers like rally legend Craig Breen, drift superstars James Dean and Conor Shanahan. We can build, deliver and set up your full custom simulator rig in your home and offer round the clock support to keep you racing to the top. To find out more, visit Digital-Motorsports.com.